Good evening and welcome to another wonderful episode of Storytime by Santa. Ho ho ho, come in close my wonderful friends, pull up a blanket up snug, wiggle your toes a bit, and make room for one more cozy story by the fire. Tonight's tale is about something unexpected. Not a sleigh problem, not a runaway cookie, not even an elf with a peppermint in his eyebrow. Though I know one or two, no, tonight is about a cat. A very fluffy, very curious, very determined kitty cat. And this is the story of the snow cat who followed Santa home. Long ago, on a Christmas Eve, so sparkly that the snow seemed to wink at the moon, Santa Claus, that's me, was making his way across the world in my sleigh, delivering gifts, sharing joy, and trying very hard not to eat all the cookies before midnight. Now, I do my best, but some gingerbread is very persuasive. That night, the reindeer were flying beautifully. Rudolph's nose glowed steady and bright. Dasher was feeling a little extra speedy. Dancer was humming carols. And Comet kept insisting that clouds looked like mashed potatoes. "They do," said Comet. "They do not," said Vixen. "They do if you're hungry," Comet replied. And so, with jingling bells and good cheer, we sailed over the rooftops. Forests, fields, and towns glowing warmly below. Our next stop was a little mountain village tucked into a snowy valley. The cottages were small and cozy. The chimneys puffed smoke in the winter sky. Lanterns glowed in the windows. Pine trees stood tall and frosty around the village square. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of place where even the snow falls politely. I landed the sleigh softly on the edge of the square. "Back in a twinkle," I told the reindeer. "Bring cookies," said Blitzen. "You said that last stop," I replied. "And I was right, last stop too," said Blitzen. I chuckled, lifted my sack, and set off through the village. The gifts were easy enough that night. A dollhouse here, a train set there, a warm scarf, a picture book, a little carved fox. I moved from roof to roof, chimney to chimney, and with the kind of happy rhythm that only Christmas Eve can bring. And at that very last house in the village, just as I stepped back out into the snowy square, I heard something, a tiny sound. I froze. That wasn't a reindeer. That wasn't an elf. It was definitely not Blitzen asking for cookies. I turned around slowly, and there beneath the village tree sat the fluffiest white cat I had ever seen. Its fur was soft and snowy. It nearly disappeared into the ground and around it. Its eyes were bright blue, like winter morning sky. Its paws were round and neat. Its tail curled around its feet like a feathery scarf. The cat looked at me and blinked. "Meow." "Well, now," I said quietly, kneeling down, "and who might you be?" The cat stood, stretched each paw one at a time, and walked right over to me like we had already been introduced. Then it rubbed my boot. I smiled. "Friendly, are we?" The cat purred so loudly I could hear it through my mittens. I looked around the square, hoping to see a sign or a caller or perhaps a sleepy villager peeking out the window. Nothing. Just snow, lantern light, and one extremely self-assured cat. I said, "You must belong to someone." The cat sat neatly and sneezed, a tiny squeaky little sneeze. Then it blinked at me as if to say, "Well?" I gave a little extra scratch behind the ears. "You, my snowy friend, are a mystery." The cat purred louder. Just then, from across the square, an old baker stepped out of the door of his shop carrying a tray of cooling rolls. He spotted me and nearly dropped them. "Santa Claus?" he whispered. I tipped my hat. "Merry Christmas." The baker grinned so wide his cheek looked ready to burst. Then he noticed the cat. "Oh, you found the snow cat." "The snow cat?" I asked. The baker nodded. "No one knows where she came from. She appears at the first snowfall, sleeps wherever she likes, visits whoever needs company, won't stay indoors for long. We all leave out bits of fish or cream, but she belongs to no one and everyone, if you understand me." I looked down at the cat. The cat looked up at me. "Meow." The baker chuckled. "She seems to like you." "Well," I said, "she has excellent taste." The baker laughed at that. "Well, what do folks call her?" I asked. The baker thought for a moment. "Mostly, there she is again, but the children call her Snowbell." "Snowbell," I repeated. "That suits her." Snowbell flicked one ear as if approving that decision. I gave the baker a warm nod, wished him a Merry Christmas, and turned back towards the sleigh. Snowbell followed. Step, 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 pause. Meow. I stopped, she stopped. I walked, she walked. I turned fully around. "Oh, no, no, no. You stay here, little one." Snowbell sat down. I nodded. "Good." Then I took 3 steps. Snowbell took 4. By the time I reached the sleigh, she was right behind me. The reindeer looked down. "A cat?" said Dasher. "A snow cat," I corrected. Blitzen peered over the edge. "Does it eat cookies?" Snowbell leaped up into the sleigh rail in one smooth, elegant motion and settled herself onto a folded blanket like she owned the place. Every reindeer blinked. Cupid whispered, "I like her." "Absolutely not," I said gently. "Snowbell, you can't come with us." Snowbell yawned. Then she tucked her paws under herself and closed her eyes. Comet leaned towards me. "That looks like a yes." I sighed. It looks like trouble." But Christmas Eve was moving along and still had miles to go and gifts to deliver. I picked Snowbell up to place her back on the ground. She did not scratch, she did not squirm, she simply looked into my eyes with such complete and fluffy determination that I paused. "Oh dear." I said softly, "You've got that look." "What look?" asked Rudolph. "The look that says, 'I have chosen you, and now you must live with the consequences.'" Rudolph nodded. "Serious look." Snowbell purred. "Now I want to be very clear. Santa does not usually bring mystery cats back to the North Pole. There are procedures. There are questions. There is paperwork. Somewhere, Head Elf Wrenchley was usually probably waking up already, sensing future paperwork in the air. But it was cold, and she was small, and she had chosen my sleigh. So I did what any sensible Christmas-hearted person might do. I wrapped Snowbell up in a soft red scarf, tucked her beside the toy sack, and said, "You may ride until the next village. Then we'll see." Snowbell blinked once, very solemnly. Rudolph snorted. "That means she won." "Not helping," I said. Up we went into the sky. Snowbell did not panic. She did not yowl. She did not try to leap off the sleigh, which I appreciated. Instead, she stood with her little paws on the rail and watched the snowy world below, ears twitching in the wind, eyes wide with wonder. I had to admit, she looked beautiful there. Moonlight on white fur, stars reflected in her eyes, one tiny pink nose aimed straight towards adventure. At the next stop, I turned to tell her to stay in the sleigh. Snowbell was gone. My beard nearly jumped off my face. "Snowbell!" A little white head popped out of the toy sack. "Meow!" Blitzen laughed so hard he jingled. She hid in the presents. "Snowbell," I said, trying to sound stern and not amused, "that is not proper sleigh etiquette." She climbed out, walked across the seat, and sat directly on my mitten. Dasher whispered, "I think she likes you." "She likes convenience," I muttered. But from then on, Snowbell stayed close. On one village, she sat by the gift sack and batted a falling snowflake. At another, she curled beside the hot cocoa thermos and purred so loudly it sounded like a tiny engine. At one point, she climbed into Donner's back while we were gliding between stops. Donner nearly crossed his own antlers in surprise. "There's a cat on me," he said. "Yes," I replied, "and I'm trying to be calm." "You're doing very well." Snowbell, for her part, looked delighted. As the night went on, something else began to happen. At each stop, Snowbell seemed to know exactly where comfort was needed, and in one village where I set gifts by the tree, I noticed a little boy asleep on the sofa, a worried crease between his eyebrows even in dreams. Snowbell hopped down from my arms, walked over and curled against his feet. The face softened immediately. In another house, an elderly woman slept in a rocking chair beside a dim fire. Snowbell leaped into her lap, purred once, and the woman smiled in her sleep. In a city apartment, a girl had left a drawing for Santa with a note that read, "I hope everyone feels less lonely this Christmas." Snowbell sat beside the drawing and touched it gently with one paw. I felt my throat grow tight at that. Rudolph glanced back at me after that. "Stop. You're noticing it too." "Yes," I said softly. "She doesn't just follow you, she follows the need." That was exactly right. Wherever the little extra warmth was needed, Snowbell drifted towards it like moonlight finding a window. By the time we reached the last stretch of the journey, I no longer wondered where she was lost. Some creatures you see are not lost at all. Some are simply on their way. When at last we turned north and flew towards home, dawn was beginning to pale the horizon. The sky softened from deep blue to lavender to silver. The reindeer was tired but cheerful. The sleigh bells sounded gentler now, as if even they were getting sleepy. Snowbell sat tucked inside my coat, her nose just peeking out warm and content. "Almost home," I told her. "Meow," she replied. The North Pole glowed ahead of us. Workshops twinkling, chimneys puffing, snow shining pink in the early light. As we landed, elves began hurrying out to greet us. "Santa's back! Santa's back! How did it go? Did anybody leave any gingerbread?" Then I noticed the white bundle in my arms. Wrenchley stopped so suddenly his boots squeaked. "Is that, he said, blinking, a cat?" "It is," I said. "Why?" "Fair question." Mrs. Claus appeared in the doorway just then, wearing her apron and her warmest smile. She took one look at Snowbell and said, "Well, of course." I laughed. "Of course what?" "Of course Christmas sent you home with a cat." Snowbell stretched towards her immediately. Mrs. Claus took her gently, and Snowbell nestled right in as if she'd been expected all along. That, I confess, made me laugh out loud. "Well," I said, "I suppose that settles who's in charge." Mrs. Claus kissed my cheek. "It was never you, dear." Over the next few days, Snowbell explored the North Pole with quiet confidence. She slept in folded blankets in the wrapping workshop. She supervised cocoa stirring in the kitchen. She sat on the toy plans while Wrenchley tried to work, which did not improve his mood but did improve everybody else's. She visited the reindeer barn where Cupid adored her, and Blitzen still wanted to know whether she liked cookies. "She prefers fish," I told him. "That feels fantastic," said Blitzen. And always Snowbell seemed to know when someone needed a little comfort. A tired elf, Snowbell would appear on their lap. A homesick helper, Snowbell would curl against their boots. A quiet moment by the window when the post-Christmas hush felt just a little bit too hushy. There would be Snowbell, purring like a small promise that warmth still existed. One evening, as the aurora danced green and gold across the sky, I sat outside on the workshop steps, with Snowbell on my knee. "You know," I said to her, "I thought you were following me home." Snowbell opened up one eye, "But I think," I continued, "you were really following Christmas." Snowbell purred, and that, my dear, is how the snow cat came to the North Pole. Did she stay forever? Well, now, that's the lovely part. By the next few new snowfall, Snowbell was gone. No note, no fuss, just one empty blanket by the fire and a few white hairs on my red coat. The elves were sad for a day. The reindeer asked questions. Mrs. Claus simply smiled. "She knows where she's needed," she said. And sure enough, from that winter on, reports began to drift in. A white cat seen by a window in a snowy village, a fluffy tail disappearing around a church in a mountain town, tiny paw prints on a porch where someone had been feeling lonely, a soft purr beside a child's bed on Christmas Eve. So if ever one winter night you hear a tiny meow outside your door, or if you find paw prints and fresh snow leading right to your window, or if your heart feels strangely lighter for no reason that you can name, it just may be that Snowbell has passed by. And if she does, be sure to say hello for Santa. Ho, ho, ho! The moral of the story is sometimes the sweetest helpers arrive in unexpected ways, and kindness enters. Kindness does not always knock loudly before it enters our lives. Snowbell remains Santa and everybody at the North Pole that comfort, warmth, and love can be shared quietly, one gentle moment at a time. When we pay attention to where kindness is needed and bravely offer it, even in small ways, we help others feel less alone, and we bring a little more Christmas light into the world. That, my fellow children, is the story about Snowbell, the winter cat. Ho, ho, ho! See you next time on the next version of Storytime by Santa.